Welcome back. It's Andrew again. Well, in this module, I will tell you how positive psychology actually came into place or came about. Well, to tell you the whole story, it is impossible. But to tell you something interesting about how this came about is possible. Now, positive psychology is considered new in comparison to other fields of psychology because the other fields of psychology is quite old already, since the 1950s and so on. And actually as old as 1890, that was when the first lab of psychology was actually started. So positive psychology started in 1999 because the idea is to study human strengths instead of just weaknesses. And it is very groundbreaking because before this, much of psychological research focused on mental illness. So during World War I, World War II, when people are sick and having lots of diseases, the psychologists actually went and focused on one thing only: to cure the sick people, to cure those with mental health issues, especially the soldiers who came back from war and they were suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. So psychology was focused on the disease model, on the sickness model. So that all changed when Martin Seligman in 1999 mooted the idea we need to look at strengths, not just weaknesses, because we have neglected strengths. So that may be one of the reasons why we would think that psychology is all about studying crazy people. Because if you're not from a psychology background, when you think about psychology, it's always about people who are crazy, people who are in the mental hospital, and we psychologists study that, and perhaps we psychologists are the crazy ones as well. Well, this is true to a large extent because in the past it was negative, but positive psychology offers a look into the areas on the other side of the continuum, which was neglected for far too long. Well, to tell you this story, I've asked my son to help me to draw something for you. So Martin Seligman, the founder of positive psychology, actually was working in his garden, his rose garden. So weeding in the garden was a very enjoyable time for him. Those of you who do gardening, you would know. I don't, so I don't know, but I'm sure it is very enjoyable. But during this particular day, Martin Seligman's daughter, Nikki, 5-year-old daughter Nikki, was playing in the garden. And both of them were doing their activities, one reading and one playing. Now, Nikki wasn't her usual self, or rather Nikki was her usual self. She went to the garden and made lots and lots of noise and started throwing leaves around and dancing and hopping. When you are trying to concentrate on something and someone else comes and disturb you, it's very frustrating, right? And my son has drawn this picture that Nikki was so noisy, just like playing a musical instrument, and it was disturbing her father. Excuse me. And the father became very, very mad and actually scolded Nikki for disturbing him reading in the garden. Now, how many of us as parents, we do that when our children comes to us when we're working at home and they demand our attention? We ask them to shut up. We ask them to go aside. I'm not free right now. Okay, don't disturb me. So Martin Seligman did the same thing. And Nikki was very sad, as you can see, my son's illustration. Nikki left the garden and Martin Seligman continued reading in the garden without Nikki around. That's not the end of the story. Nikki came back after a while. And when she came back, she said this. She said, "Daddy, I want to talk to you. Yes, Nikki? Martin Seligman replied. I'm imagining that's the conversation. Daddy, do you remember before my 5th birthday, from when I was 3 until I am 5 now, I was a whiner. A whiner is someone who complains a lot. I whine every day. But on my 5th birthday, I decided I wasn't going to whine anymore. That was the hardest thing I've ever done, Daddy. And if I can stop complaining, you can stop being such a grouch. That was what a 5-year-old told a grown adult. No, if she can change, that means you can change also. Wow, that statement really struck Martin Seligman. And if my son were to tell me that, it would strike me very much also. No, if he can change, so can you. So I'm telling you also, if I can change, so can you. If you can change, so can I. Like it? So after Martin Seligman heard this, he realized something, no? That raising his daughter Nikki was to nurture her and mold her around the strength that she has. It was not about fixing what was wrong with Nikki, but about amplifying her strengths, helping her to grow and improve in life. Martin Seligman also realized that the purpose of raising children was to identify and use their strengths and virtues and help them find their niche where they can live these positive traits in their lives to the fullest. And he started to wonder, is there a psychological science that is about the best things in life? The answer was no at that time. Positive psychology wasn't born yet. Is it possible to have a classification of strengths and virtues that make life worth living? The answer was also no at that time. That's why Martin Seligman went on together with Christopher Peterson and some others to come up with a classification of strengths. So in psychology and clinical psychology and also psychiatry, they have this book known as the Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Disorders. So what Martin Seligman was trying to do is to come up with another manual, and this manual is not about classifying disorders, but classifying strengths. He also thought and started to wonder if child caretakers and educators can use such a science about studying strengths and so on to raise strong and resilient students. Wow. And the fourth one, he wondered if adults can actually teach themselves better ways to attain happiness and fulfillment in life. Now the answer was no at that time, but the answer is yes now. Yes, there is a science that talks about the best things in life. Yes, there is a classification of strengths that tells you what type of strengths you have and how to use your strengths to the fullest. And yes, child caretakers and educators and people right now can actually use this science to educate the next generation. And yes, adults can actually teach ourselves, you and I, better ways to behave, better ways to live our lives, and better ways to actually attain fulfillment and satisfaction and happiness in our lives with positive psychology. Thank you.